Hello and welcome to the first episode of a brand new podcast hosted by me, Jude Dufton. In today's episode we will be focusing on sport and exercise and its impact on well-being. During this podcast we will go through the different sides of sports and exercise and the different ways they benefit people, speaking to a wide range of people from different sports and backgrounds, each offering up their own experiences. And we're going to begin with the impact exercise has on people physically and mentally, and what this then means for the NHS and the athlete themselves. So let's get going. Exercise can play a crucial part in a person's lifetime, with massive positives towards a person's physical and mental health. Physically, benefits can include muscular hypertrophy, an increase in muscle size and mass, increased muscular endurance, better cardiovascular fitness, to name a few. Also, by becoming fitter and stronger, a person can reduce the chances of contracting an illness. An example would be a runner or cyclist, increasing the size and strength of their heart through regular exercise, which allows it to beat less times per minute whilst resting and whilst exercising, which reduces their chance of cardiovascular disease. According to an article from the American College of Cardiology, published in 2014, a runner is 45% less likely to suffer heart attack, heart disease or a stroke, which is quite a big number, to be fair. If more people were to exercise as well, this would massively reduce the stress on the NHS, which is a service that since 2010 has been working on a smaller and smaller budget. We're going to introduce our first interviewee here. It's a clip from NHS worker Emmeline Irvine, where we spoke about the challenges the NHS faces and how an overall healthier population would help the service itself.
So the NHS is facing many different challenges at the minute, from resource, that's physical money, resource. We're having to make a lot of cost-saving decisions, which means that some services perhaps don't get funded that we'd like, because we've got to keep people who need those acute services, we've got to keep those services there for them. We're also under pressure in relation to capacity and having the staff. But if we want to do more, you're asking more of the same people, which isn't always the best way forward. And then I think the other challenge that health has got is obviously the increase in demand in people who are unwell or potentially will be unwell because they're not engaged in those protective activities that can support their health.
Another benefit of exercise and sport that is perhaps less obvious than the physical benefits is the mental side. When people exercise or play sport by themselves or with others, they get a release of endorphins, making them feel good and boosting their overall mood and mindset. Exercise also helps people by letting them set goals, increases their motivation, gives them a sense of achievement, as well as just generally allowing people to have fun. That's coming from the Mental Health Foundation in an article published in 2021. As well as being the less obvious benefit of exercise, though, mental health plays a big part in the role of the NHS. According to the British Medical Foundation, in 2022-2023, £12.8 billion was spent on mental health services. And according to the charity Mind in 2017, 1 in 4 people in Britain will suffer from mental health issues. This is a big problem that people really have only started to understand and talk about in the past 15 to 20 years, probably. Probably one key way to battle these problems and help people is to encourage them to exercise and play sport. Speaking to Emmeline again, we also discussed the way the NHS struggles to deal with these problems with the budget the service is on, and how people can prevent both physical and mental problems.
Exercise and physical activity is one of the biggest protective factors that we can have for our whole health, and that's physical and mental health. And when I look at physical activity, I'm talking about just moving more for some people. It might be sports, might be going to the gym, but actually it's also, for me, a gatekeeper to other protective factors like good sleep, good mental health, all of which we know protect people.
The NHS isn't the only service with a big strain on it currently. The police force are also struggling to deal with crime numbers, whilst also on a tightening budget. Sport and exercise could be one ally for the police. There are many cases of athletes turning to sport to improve their life and get away from crime. Anthony Joshua was struggling and then found boxing and has now become one of the heavyweight champions of the world. Ian Wright was also in prison before he became a footballer. Many other footballers come from poorer working class backgrounds. There's a clear link between sport and helping people steer away from crime, but the link between the NHS and the police is also crucial. Emmeline can tell us more about how the two work together.
We are very lucky in West Yorkshire that we have that robust relationship, because that's not replicated everywhere. And that's enabled us to do all sorts of creative work together, which includes some physical activity work and co-commissioning work, because we know that there's a massive evidence base between coaching and physical activity and young people then not being involved in serious violence and other criminal activity. We've also done work around trauma-informed navigators in A&E, so looking at how we can help young people when they come through the doors that may have been involved in some kind of serious violence, etc., and actually what can we get them engaged in outside of that, in order to divert and hopefully engage them in something else. I know that the police and crime team have been heavily involved with a boxing group in Batley, and they've been doing some amazing work. I know Kim Ledbetter, the MP, has been involved in that as well. So there are huge links all over the place when it comes to health and the police, and there's definitely more to explore, I think, in that space.
Probably the biggest key way to battle physical and mental problems is to go into the gym regularly and exercise regularly. That could be at home as well, I guess. Exercising a few times a week has massive bonuses for people. Increased muscular hypertrophy, endurance, reduced chances of disease, as ones we've already been through, but also the gym's a value tool for everyone. It's not discriminatory, sort of. It doesn't matter your age, your ethnicity, your gender or ability, which is one key reason why so many people do go to the gym and why everybody is encouraged to go to the gym. It's not really, it's not very limited for people. And now we're going to bring in another one of our interviews. This time it's Hayden Kay. Hayden is someone who's attended JD gyms regularly for a little while now, and here he is where he's speaking about his motivation behind the gym and why he attends it.
I go for a few different reasons, but the main reason I go is to lose a bit of weight and put on a bit of muscle mass. Might also make me feel better about myself. That's one of the reasons I go, for my mental health and confidence in day to day. I also think it's important for me to get stronger and fitter in general. Another reason is probably it makes me feel a lot better when I'm working out and there's a structure to my life.
Hayden's case is a very common example of regular people attending the gym for muscular gains, but also wanting a boost in confidence and to make themselves feel better about themselves. Fitness First published an article in 2023 stating that 49.9% of people go to the gym to improve their look aesthetically, but 25% of people also go to improve their mental health. Also, according to The Guardian, in 2024, 75% of people who go to the gym say their mental health has improved because of it. So there is a direct link between exercise and going to the gym and people feeling better about themselves. Now we're looking at the other side of the coin, and we're going to be talking to Lisa Haig, and she's someone who doesn't go to the gym. We've already heard Emmeline from the NHS speak about how people can take preventative actions to ensure they stay fit and healthy, and also then in turn keep the stress on the NHS service lower. Here we can hear Lisa explain her reasons for not going to the gym, and she gives a wide range of reasons for why she doesn't currently.
So the cost of a gym membership is high, and with the cost of the living crisis going on, I don't think it's necessarily value for money, especially when if I wanted to start exercising, you can easily go to parks to run. There's also the time problem, so working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then having other things to do when you get home makes it a challenge to find the time to go.
Lisa's experience and reasoning for not attending the gym gives us a good insight into why a lot of everyday people don't attend the gym. Probably one of the biggest problems is the price. Currently, the average cost of a gym membership is £44.92 per month nationwide, with the average cost for a membership in Leeds a little over £25. And this commitment for people, especially during a cost of living crisis, when prices in other sectors, your gas, your energy, your petrol, your food, they're all rising and are at a very high level, the highest level they have been for a long time. This makes it really difficult for working people to get to the gym and find the motivation to make that kind of a financial commitment. And time is also a big problem, especially you're looking at a family with kids. Working 5 days a week means people will struggle to find the time to work out. One possible way to combat this would be a 4-day working week. Obviously, this makes it easier for people to find the time to exercise, but also means that the gyms might attract more people, which could then allow them to drop their prices. Lisa also had her say on this argument, and here we can hear what she thinks about a 4-day working week.
Definitely make a difference. Obviously, people would have a lot more time, and I think gyms would benefit from this, which would then in turn allow them to decrease prices if there was an influx. I think it would be a big help, and it might make me think more about starting going.
Speaking to both Lisa and Hayden, we have seen there's a multitude of different reasons for and against going to the gym for everyday ordinary people. Again, the stats all show there's a large amount of people struggling with their mental health as well as their physical health, and there is a big strain on their medical services because of, as previously discussed, a shrinking budget, but obviously these other reasons, mainly the pandemic. So now is a vital time for people to start taking their well-being more seriously, and I think it is something that is becoming more serious and more people are thinking about, especially over the past 10-15 years. But it's also important that we make exercise and gyms more accessible. Since 2010, over 1,000 swimming pools and leisure centres have closed, according to the local government website in 2023. Also, a further 1,500 are coming towards the end of their life. This means we're making it harder for people to exercise and access these services, which means it's a rising problem then, and means more people have issues with their well-being and have to resort on medical services. And that brings that topic to a close. Sticking with the theme of mental health in sports, however, next we're going to be looking at individual and team sports and see how the two compare in helping someone with their mental health, as well as what comes with the two, what's part and part of the two differences in the sport. The difference between solo and team sports can be very stark in terms of mental preparation and how an individual deals with setbacks and success compared to how a team deals with these similar circumstances. Research has shown that sharing success with a team, working in a team, has a boost on mental health compared with exercising and playing alone, according to the Jakarta Post in 2020. Whilst playing in a team, an athlete can have that sense of teamwork and camaraderie, which can boost performance and increase the enjoyment they get out of this sport. We're going to be speaking to cricketer for local club Shirley and York University, Jackson Woodhouse, and we can hear now how he feels about being part of a team.
I've always preferred team sports anyway. Like, for instance, when I played squash, it's a different kind of environment there because it's on your own. But when you're a team, yeah, it's a different ball game, full stop, when it's a different team. But you can just help each other more. You can be, I guess, more brutally honest, telling people what they should improve on, what they've done well at. And just having that connection outside of the club, personally, I enjoy the game more when it's with people.
This contrasts to the experience that Emily Goth, who is an athlete from Premier Taekwondo, who the contrast and experience she has as a result of competing on her own. Without teammates, Emily has only herself to look at and blame when things go wrong. So let's hear more about Emily's thoughts on being part of a solo sport and the pressures she faces.
I'd say because there's a lot of pressure, because it's a solo sport, all the negatives of defeat are placed on you rather than sharing it with a teammate.
Bringing in a third point of view on the matter, we're going to be chatting to Finn Horsfall. Finn is someone who's run regularly for the past few years. He's mainly running in the Hyde Park Run every Saturday morning. So let's hear what Finn has to say about the contrast between running alone and running with other people.
Yeah, the main reason I got into running was I did the park run and got into that during university. I did it with a mate that I lived with, and then it's good just because that motivates you to get up at a certain time every week. And it also just helps with like the motivation whilst I'm running. I'll see someone ahead and I use that sort of as like a guide, like I'll try and get ahead of them, just as like a bit of a competitive aspect to it as well. And also it's good to go on with people, just like one-on-one sort, because you don't have to go too fast in terms of conversation. It's easy when you're just going on a run by yourself to say, oh, I'll stay in bed a bit longer or I'll do it later, but when you've actually got something arranged, it definitely keeps you in check and keeps you motivated to get up and actually go.
It's clear that training and playing in a team has clear advantages compared to being in a solo sport. This can go across both physical and mental aspects of exercise and sport. Being in a team allows you to push others and gives a competitive side and enjoying the social aspect of it. People in solo sports, motivation can be a problem for them more than those in a team setting. And sticking with the topic of solo versus team sports, we're going to be shifting our focus slightly. And one aspect of sport that often gets overlooked is the impact a lack of sport can have during the off-season. You look at cricket, they don't play in winter, and football, it's not in the summer. And people don't really often chat about the impact it can have on athletes themselves. We're going to hear from Jackson again, and he's going to be sharing his experience about how the off-season affects him and his lifestyle.
I don't really notice it. I don't think about it too much when I'm not playing, but when I get back into playing, I just feel myself be more happy. And that first walk back when I'm just boiling hot, sweating, I'm aching, I just feel like it's healthy, and I'm just like, I'm glad to be back into this. So
an interesting comparison is looking at a team sport compared to a solo sport. You could possibly argue that in a team sport, someone will suffer more during the off-season as there's a bigger lack of social interaction and there's no teammates who they're talking to regularly. And you could contrast that with a solo sport because they're on their own in their sport. The off-season won't have as much of an effect, perhaps because they won't training with teammates anyway. They want to socialise in an aspect anyway. However, we are going to be speaking to Emily about this as well. And her response was actually quite the opposite, so let's hear what she had to say.
I'd say lose routine and confidence and lack of purpose. I'd say gives me purpose when you go to the gym and train.
Similarly to Jackson, Emily says a lack of routine and exercise has an impact on her and can negatively affect her. Again, backing up the fact that a lack of sport and exercise leads to a dip in mental health. We're going to be shifting our focus again. And another difference in team and solo sports is the difference between culture within the sport/team. It can be daunting meeting new people for the first time, especially if you're in a big group of people. Here Jackson explained how he felt when he first joined the cricket team at York University and the nerves of entering a new and competitive environment.
The first impression seems to be, I remember the first time I went was the most nervous I was. Instead of not even the first match, it was just the first training session of meeting people. Luckily, I was with someone else who was in the same boat, so that did help. But I can imagine, especially for someone who doesn't have any friends doing that sport and at university, they've gone to a training session knowing no one, I can see that to be very intimidating,
This could perhaps be one of the biggest reasons towards people choosing solo sports and exercising alone, especially if people are nervous about meeting others or have had a previous bad experience entering a new environment. Overall, team and solo sports are massive across the UK, with 63.5% of the population over 16 years of age taking part in sport and exercise regularly, according to Statista in 2023. Statista also reported in 2023 that 3.1 million people in the UK participate in team sports. This shows an overwhelming favour towards solo sports, despite the bonuses, as we've discussed, for team sports. However, when you look more deeply into it, you can begin to understand it, given it's easier for people to exercise on their own. Running, swimming, gym training are all easier to organise alone, and in some cases, especially running, it's a lot cheaper than joining a football team or a cricket club. This again could show that more needs to be done to get people playing sport and also promote team sports more. And next we're going to be moving on to the final section of today's podcast, and we will be talking about the stigma around the gym, an important topic that has a big impact on people's decision making with the gym. Going to the gym and exercising in public can be really daunting for people, especially if it's for the first time. People are often worried about being laughed at and looked at whilst exercising. The growth of social media has also had an impact on this. Social media has vastly changed how people work out and the way people view the gym. The stigma around the gym is something that many people on social media have tried to change. From the outside looking in, it can feel very toxic. People like Joey Swoll have huge platforms and use this to spread positivity. Joey Swoll uses Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, and he finds videos of people filming others in the gym who try and villainise others. He then highlights these videos and explains how they shouldn't be doing this and tries to change the gym's toxic atmosphere from the outside looking in. In 2023, Fitness First published an article where they claim that 39% of people avoid the gym because they feel self-conscious. This again could also be linked to social media and how easy it is for people to be able to see what the inside of gym culture can be like. Going back to Emily, we're going to be hearing how she feels about the gym and how she would feel if she entered alone for the first time.
I feel it very daunting, and I sort of see it more as a male-dominated thing to go into a gym, especially in that sport. It's very more males rather than females, so it's very intimidating. Definitely probably wouldn't go alone to the gym. I'd consider doing other sports which involve more of a team or doing it with others rather than just going as an individual.
Lisa also spoke about this and how she finds the gym an intimidating place. I'm going to be hearing from her now as well.
I think it can be quite scary going to a gym, especially for the first time, especially if you're on your own and don't know what you're doing and not sure what you want to get out of the gym. It's one thing that does stop me from going, and I can imagine it will be the same for lots of others.
Speaking to Finn again, his experience when running contrasts with how Emily and Lisa feel about working out and people potentially looking at them. However, one difference is that Finn is a man, and men tend not to worry about people watching them. Women, unfortunately, can feel more vulnerable and self-conscious due to various reasons, all of which are important and valid. Finn, fortunately, doesn't suffer with these problems himself, as he explains, but does still give us some insight into how people, especially women, can feel.
Because you're sort of in a pack and you feel part of a community as well, so like everyone's there to sort of push each other along and get everyone done. I've never personally experienced any like worries about people watching me, but I have friends who have, and I know they definitely going on a run like on the roads and stuff at busy times. I feel like that would definitely maybe put them off, but being able to do it in the comfort of a community, they're all there to help each other. That definitely helps. I think it's good that they obviously have the park run at the same time, but also some people might not do it because of that fact. So whether they could have like do the park run as like a whole thing, and then have like maybe like a women's like owned, so they like a women's only gym, they can sort of do it without feeling judged by anyone, or they can feel as comfortable as possible, because obviously it's then more inclusive to everyone. And the fact that like it is male dominated definitely would put some people off, so I think offering something alternative might help for that.
As Finn has just shown, men find it easier to work out alone and are less prone to embarrassment and self-consciousness when it comes to working out alone. According to a 2014 article from The Atlantic, women are likely to be less confident and self-assured than men. However, more recent research is beginning to show the contrary, and up to 70% of men can feel self-conscious about their body. HBR.org in 2019 published an article claiming that although there are differences in confidence between the two genders, the gap shrinks dramatically after age 23. Hayden, however, still feels the same as Finn and explains how he prefers to work out alone.
I wasn't self-conscious about working out alone and thinking about having people watching me. It's something I never really thought about. I'm confident enough not to do that and think about others watching me. I've been going to the gym for a while now, so it's not something that bothers me at all. I currently work out alone because I just found it easier to go when I want to, and not have to plan around someone else's structure or schedule and wait for them. I can see the benefits of working out with a partner because it might motivate myself and the other person, have a bit of competition, friendly competition. But I'm motivated enough on my own, and chasing after the goals that I set myself is good enough for me.
Besides being a problem for certain people going for the first time, this problem is probably elevated for women. We've just heard from two women there who feel uncomfortable and find the gym intimidating, especially if they were on their own. According to My Weekly in 2022, over 61% of women admitted to being harassed by a man in the gym. This again is a serious problem and needs to be dealt with more by gyms and people in general. The Office for National Statistics in 2023 said that only 5% of women who'd been harassed reported this. If this translated at a similar rate to the gym, then there's a lot of cases that go unreported and unanswered. This again makes the gym intimidating from the outside and possibly adding to reasons, especially for women, possibly adding to why they don't go to the gym. So to summarise, the gym's image from the outside looks toxic and is very daunting for people. For women, it seems an even bigger challenge to visit the gym and feel confident about working out, especially when they're on their own. More needs to be done by gyms and people themselves to make it more accessible and friendly, especially for people who are thinking of attending. And that brings us podcast episode to a close. My thanks to all those who were interviewed and gave answers for the podcast, and thanks to you especially for listening, and keep your eyes out for the next episode. I've been your host, Jude Dufton, and bye for now.